Hi, my name's Amanda Collazo and I'm from Puerto Rico. Today I'm going to be making Sancocho, which is a stew made throughout Latin America. However, it is the Dominican Republic which has claimed Sancocho to be their national dish. Now, Sancocho is made of meat and vegetables, mostly roots. It is a variation of both the ajiaco of the Taino Indians, who used to live in the Dominican Republic before the Spanish came. And the Spanish brought the stew cocido, which is made of vegetables, pudding, and pork. Now, one of the reasons why Sancocho is so popular is because of its simplicity and flexibility in terms of ingredients. Basically, Sancocho can be made with whatever's in your refrigerator. Just add or take. And a lot of times it's made at parties because people, well, they don't have a lot of one thing, especially in the Dominican Republic because of economic hardships. So they're able to put a lot of vegetables together and use just a little bit of meat and still make a meal that's satisfying for everyone. Plus, everyone can add their own personal touch to the meal and really make it their own. The term Sancocho is used as slang in the Dominican Republic to mean a mix of ideas or a mix of peoples. So let's start with our ingredients. We have vegetable oil, 1 pound of chorizo, 1 pound of salt pork chops, 2 pounds of chicken, and 1 pound of goat meat. About half of 1 medium-sized onion, 1 green bell pepper, parsley and cilantro, which is from the coriander plant. Then we have our vegetables. We have malanga. We have Spanish pumpkin, also called chapote. We have taro, the plantain, corn. You can use yellow or white. I use a little bit of both. Yuca, and sweet potato. Now we have garlic, 1 chicken bouillon cube, a little bit of naranja agria, which is a juice from an orange. It's very large and dark, and it's a very sour taste. And then salt. Oh, and 1 cup of tomato sauce, and that's it. White vinegar and Worcestershire sauce. What we're going to start with is the marinade for the meat so that we can cut the meat up and marinate it immediately, because marinating is going to take 30 minutes. We're going to put in our tomato sauce. We're going to put half of the onions in, half of the bell peppers, about half of the garlic, so about half a teaspoon of garlic, not a lot, and about 2 teaspoons of salt. A little bit of Worcestershire sauce too, about half a cup of that. There we go. So now we can set this aside and start with our meat. The pork chop. Try to cut as much of the fat out as you can. And then we're going to wipe some of the orange sour sauce on it, the naranja agria. Leave that there for a little bit so it can soak in. This is our goat meat. The goat meat is very hard to cut, but is one of the best ingredients. And it's very popular in Latin American countries. A lot of people there use goat meat. And everything you cover with this naranja agria sauce. The chicken, try to peel as much fat off the chicken as possible. There we go. And you can leave the chicken bone in too. So we're going to throw all these in the marinade. And as I said, we're going to let them sit for 30 minutes. So we'll set this aside. And now we'll start with the sausages. So this is salt pork. And we're going to cut these into pieces about ½ an inch wide. This is also called Spanish sausage. And we'll start up our skillet so we can throw that in immediately. Cover the bottom part of the frying pan with vegetable oil. Put it on a low heat. We're going to fry this, but only a light brown. We don't want it to be really fried because we're going to cook it later. This is chorizo. It's a sweet sausage. And also we're going to cut this in about ½ an inch sizes. put this in with the salt pork and fry this too. Now we're going to start cooking our meat, also on a low heat. And keep the marinade because we're going to use it later. Don't throw it out. Okay, so now we're going to start with our vegetables. This is the plantain or plátano. It's shaped like a banana, but it's longer and green and hard. The reason we use a lot of roots and harder vegetables is because since they're going to be boiling for a while, we don't want to make them too soft so that they fall apart in the stew. We want them to keep their texture. So we're going to peel this. This is also a little harder to peel than a banana. So we're going to use 2 plantains and cut these up. Throw them in a different pot of water than we have our meats in. We don't want to cook our vegetables and meats. We've got corn. You're going to use about 3 corn cobs, 3 ears of corn. Cut these into chunks. Throw these in with the plantains. Now we have our yuca. So you're going to cut them into bite-sized pieces, about this big, and throw it all in the pot with our plantain and our corn. Now here we have the sweet potato. Gonna chop this up too. Pieces about this big. And throw that all in the pot. This is the malanga root. It's very hard to peel. So it's a good thing I did that already. This is what it's gonna look like. It looks a little bit like the yuca, but it's much easier to chop. This is a little piece of taro. It's a very tiny root. Sometimes people use white yams to replace them, and they taste a lot alike. And the last one is the Spanish pumpkin. I already peeled that up too. So the easiest thing to do is cut it in half and then quarters. It has a little pit in the center, so you're going to want to scrape that out and cut that up. And all these roots are very commonly found in the Dominican Republic, and that's why they're used so much. And we want seasoning to our vegetables. So before you start boiling, we're going to add about 3 teaspoons of salt, the remaining green bell peppers, the remaining onions, the parsley and cilantro, and the cube of chicken bouillon. Alright, so now about 30 minutes later, our vegetables should be done. Let's check it out. Okay, they look good. Now we're going to put our meat in there. Great, and then mix that up a little bit. 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. Half a teaspoon of the garlic, basically the remaining garlic. And last, 1 teaspoon of the naranja agria. And finally, we get to cook it for about an hour. You're going to cook this all together, so it's all going to be boiling together. And there you have it, Sancocho. Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome.